No DQ Galaxy. We are live with No DQ&A video right here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Aaron Rift No DQ, and the NoDQ.com social media accounts, Twitter and Facebook. Shout out to everybody out there watching this, whether it's live or on demand. For those of you that have been following along for a while, you know I've been doing these Q&As for over a decade. Been running NoDQ.com since it was WWFWCW.com back in 1998. It's been a long ride, and we still have a lot more to come. Thank you guys again for all of your continued viewership and support. And if you're brand new, I hope you enjoy this Q&A. I am going to try and answer as many questions as possible this evening. I have gotten some questions via email. Feel free to super chat a question. Any super chatted questions will get top priority. And if you're in the chat room, feel free to leave a comment about anything I'm talking about. I'll put some of the comments up on the screen. Now with that, let's get right into the Q&A. First of all, I just wanted to say regarding Ric Flair, please stay retired. Dylan sent me this question. He says, what are your thoughts on Ric Flair wrestling again if the rumors are true? Video has come out of Ric Flair training with Jay Lethal, and there's been talk of Ric Flair coming back for one more match. I think it's a terrible idea. I don't care if it's even in a six-man tag team capacity, which is something that is rumored. Ric Flair maybe teaming up with FTR against the Rock and Roll Express and somebody else. That would be able to protect Flair to a degree. He could just come in, throw a few chops, put somebody in the figure four, but still, enough is enough. There is no need for him to come back. It just cheapens his legacy even further. The only reason I see him coming back is to get a quick payday. And sure, he's passionate about wrestling, but his time has come and gone. Ric Flair has had some serious health issues. He almost died. 73 years old. Should not be wrestling again. Some might try to justify it saying, well, Vince McMahon went out there at WrestleMania and technically had a match, but we saw how that stunner turned out. It was not pretty. Ric Flair does not need to be in the ring again, bottom line. Arthur Jones in the chat room says, your reaction to Tammy Sytch back in jail, her bond was denied. Right call, 100%. She's had so many opportunities. It's tough when it comes to the situation with people that have alcohol addiction, drug addiction. They need help. That's not a question. But in her case, she had chance after chance after chance, and she has become a threat to the public. Somebody died. And if she was on the streets awaiting trial, somebody else could die. I think 100% it was the right decision. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. So thank you for that super chat. Much appreciated. Says, hey, Karen, do you wish to speak with a manager? But seriously, what are some of the good things from WCW, TNA, and WWE did that AEW could use to improve? That's a tough question to answer because what does AEW need to improve? That's a question that I'm sure if you ask a different person, you're going to get a different answer from each person that you ask. I will start with entrance music. I've never been the biggest fan of the AEW theme songs. Hire Jim Johnston. What you have to do is look what worked the most from WWE, WCW, and TNA. And I think with AEW, they are doing that as far as taking the best elements of WCW. People really liked the cruiserweight division, and AEW is focusing on their work rate and bringing in superstars from Mexico and Japan, so on and so forth. And you look at WWE, character, presentation. Part of the presentation was entrance music. Hire Jim Johnston. Bottom line. TNA, the X division, and that's a continuation of what's going on in AEW, focusing on the high flyers, the work rate guys. That's what AEW is doing. So for the most part, they are doing very well. I think the one area where they're lacking is with building the larger-than-life superstars, and they really need to work on the presentation of the characters. And I think you can make a difference with the entrance music. Hire Jim Johnston. Bottom line, that's all you need to know. Jerry Slaughter sent in a question, the general. He says, do you see a lot of stars returning to Ring of Honor when it officially relaunches, or do you think that Tony Khan will just flood it with talent from AEW's bloated roster of unused or underused talent? Great question. I think that it's probably going to be a mix of both. I think Khan will rely on a lot of people he already has signed. Let's face it, a lot of people are under contract to AEW. There's a huge talent pool. If you're looking to save some money, why not focus on the guys you already have? And as I've said before, I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but I think AEW needs to eliminate Dark and Dark Elevation and just make Ring of Honor the developmental show, or the show where the rising stars are coming in, the superstars of tomorrow, kind of like AEW's version of NXT. You can mostly use AEW people, and also you can use some Ring of Honor guys and use some indie guys and just bring in some different people. And that's how some of these lesser known wrestlers can get some exposure in this new Ring of Honor. And if they really shine in Ring of Honor, then you call them up over to AEW, the so-called main roster. But yeah, I think it will mostly be AEW guys, but I could see some of the Ring of Honor alumni being involved, and maybe some past names from Ring of Honor coming in and working with the new Ring of Honor. But yeah, Tony Khan's already got a lot of people, and I think that those people could really benefit from being able to help out with Ring of Honor and being a focus of this new Ring of Honor brand. Next question here comes from Sun Goshiku. Sun says, in the next 10 years, if a streaming service is willing to pay an even greater multi-billion-dollar deal to stream WWE's weekly TV shows on their platform, could you see Vince McMahon taking Raw, SmackDown, and NXT off TV for good? Good question there, son. And I definitely see that as a very realistic possibility, and here's why. Streaming is the future. Some people think that it may go back to cable television, but I feel like the future is with streaming. And at the end of the day, it is going to come down to who is willing to pay WWE the most. WWE is a business. They're going to go to the highest bidder. If Netflix or Paramount Plus or HBO Max or Disney Plus, any of these streaming services, if they make an offer WWE can't refuse, or they outbid Fox, I think WWE would move to a streaming service. They're going to go where they make the most money. And because I think streaming is the future, I think one of those streaming services, don't know if it's going to be 2 years from now or 6-7 years from now, but eventually I think one of these services is going to shell out a ton of money, and we'll see WWE on one of those services. Now, we got a $5 super chat here from Walter Cruz. Thank you very much for that, Walter, or Gunther, however we should refer to you as. He says, if you could take anyone who's lower on the card, if give one main event push to, who would it be? For me, it's Shelton Benjamin, and I would go back to Ain't No Stopping Me Now. Well, regardless of whether Shelton gets some kind of main event push, it'd be cool for him to have the old music again. Jim Johnston, by the way. But I would not pick Shelton Benjamin because you have to focus towards the future. And Shelton's great. He's awesome, but his best years were quite a while ago. I mean, he's still a really solid worker, but I think you have to focus on the future. So if I'm looking at the current WWE roster, somebody who's in the lower card, give a main event push. I mean, he just got to the main roster, but to me, it's pretty clear he's on a path to nowhere. That person would be Ciampa. I would take Ciampa and put him in there with Randy Orton, put him in there with Seth freaking Rollins, Kevin Owens, the top guys. With all due respect to Ali, and maybe Ali's a guy too. A lot of people like Ali, but I would pick Ciampa. Ciampa would be my first pick as far as guys who are on the lower end of the totem pole in WWE. That would be Tommaso Ciampa. Now, the This Guy Experience with a $2 super chat, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, the question is, does JJ still have it? Will Bobby Lashley become champion? JJ, I presume you're talking about Jeff Jarrett. I cannot think of any other JJ, maybe JJ Williams, but he's on the Jeff Meacham network. I would say he still has it. Talking about JJ Williams. Jeff Jarrett, the guy dresses good, but haven't really seen much of him in the ring. I know he came out of retirement recently. I haven't really seen any of that footage, so I don't know if he still has it. I thought he did okay at the Rumble when he was in it a couple years back. It was fine. Maybe he could be on TV more often in some kind of non-wrestling role, maybe a manager. I think he would do fine. So yeah, Jeff Jarrett probably still has it, depending on what it is as far as Jeff Jarrett goes. I mean, some people said the guy did not draw a dime. Others thought he was pretty entertaining. I'm somewhere in the middle, Wasn't the biggest draw in wrestling, but he had his moments for sure. And Bobby Lashley, I guess you're asking, will he be champion again? He's getting up there, mid-40s. I would not rule it out, but I'm leaning towards no at this point, just because I think they're going to start focusing on the younger guys and start building them up towards the main event picture. But hey, he had a pretty nice run. I have to say, I'm glad Bobby Lashley got paired up with MVP, got to be the world champion, got to win at WrestleMania, successfully defending the title. He did pretty good for himself, and he even got a win over Brock Lesnar, which, yeah, of course, he had all the shenanigans, but hey, a win's a win. Bobby Lashley has a W in the record book over one Brock Lesnar. Now, we move on here to Todrick Francis, who sent in this question. He says, hey, Aaron, between WWE and AEW, which company do you feel needs to do a better job on their women's division, and how would you improve each of them? Loaded question here. A lot to digest with this one, but I will go ahead and break it down best I can. Both could certainly be better, that's for sure. WWE has a lot of star power. You got Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, Bayley whenever she comes back, Sasha Banks, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. You got a lot of stars there. The problem is, I feel like they only focus, and this is really a problem with the men too, they only focus on a certain group of people and then everybody else is pushed aside. Like they have Shotzi Blackheart, they could be doing more with her. And there's several others that are just not being utilized. And the women's tag division, in particular, WWE's really big issue is with the women's tag division, because it's like you have what, 2 or 3 teams, and then one team breaks up, you put the titles on another team. They need like at least 6 solid teams between Raw and SmackDown. So that's something that they could definitely work on, no question, is their tag division, and just building up challengers for the champions. Like Ronda Rousey's the champion now. We should start seeing other women like a Shotzi or somebody else picking up wins on SmackDown, building up momentum to become challengers for Ronda Rousey. And same thing on Raw. As Bianca's the champion, you should be building up other people for her. Over on AEW, problem with AEW's women's division is they just don't have the star power. They have some really solid wrestlers, and Jade Cargill, the TBS champion, I should say, she's building up some momentum with every week passing by. Thunder Rosa is the champion, but she doesn't really feel like the champion. That's part of the problem right now. She's a great wrestler, in my opinion. She's had a couple of the best matches in the history of AEW, and I like her persona. I think she's marketable, but for whatever reason, she just doesn't feel like a champion. When she's on TV, she's in a segment that feels like a throwaway segment. She's not one of the focal points. And there have been a few times where AEW has put the women's segment in the main event spot, but most weeks, and I always point this out during my recaps, AEW's women's match, they have one match a week, and it's usually in that 9:15 to 9:30 time slot every week. Like some weeks they should try to have 2 women's matches on the show, or open the show with a women's match. Maybe have the main event be the women more often. Get more women on Dynamite in key spots on the show and key storylines. I feel like we don't see much of Jade Cargill on Dynamite. I mean, she is the TBS champion, so shouldn't she be on TBS? Just saying. And Thunder Rosa, Astro Creep asked if she even defended the title yet. I'm not even sure she has. If she did, I missed it. She might have. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she had a match with like Nyla Rose or something. She might have. But yeah, I should know. We should be seeing Thunder Rosa defending the title more often. I mean, same thing with Adam Page, in my opinion. Like, and again, this is a problem that can apply to the men's roster as well, as far as the champions go. But yeah, AEW has signed a lot of former WWE male stars, and they did sign Tony Storm and a few others, but yeah, they really got to work on building up these female stars and giving them more prominent positions on television, in my opinion. Both definitely could use some work, but yeah, at this point, I would say WWE probably has the stronger women's division just on the star power alone. And Don Wooding says Thunder Rosa versus Nyla Rose at the last pay-per-view. But I don't believe Thunder Rosa was the champion then. She won the title on St. Patrick's Day on the Dynamite with the Cage match. All right, let's see here. Walter Cruz sent in another $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. Very much appreciated. Says, who never won the WWE title that you wish did? I have several. Mr. Perfect, Ted DiBiase, and Owen Hart are my top 3. All 3 of those guys are great choices. Another one that has always been on my list is Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. And I think that if it wasn't for his personal issues and him leaving WWE in 96, he very well could have been WWE champion. Mr. Perfect, maybe, but he was really in that role of putting over the champion type of deal. Same thing with Ted DiBiase. Maybe they could have pulled that off with DiBiase being the champion for a little bit when Andre beat Hogan, and they could have somehow made that work, but they wanted to protect the integrity of the WWF title, so it just didn't pan out. And plus, we got DiBiase with the $1 million title, and that got him more heat. So I don't think DiBiase needed it. Owen Hart, he was red hot in 94, and I remember that there was actually a match that took place where Owen was proclaimed the new WWE champion, but they never aired it on television, so it technically doesn't count. But I think if you look on YouTube, you can find that video. 94 would have been the time, but Bret had just beaten Yokozuna, and Bret was their guy, and that was an era. Yoko was already the champion as a heel for almost a year, and I don't think they wanted to put the title on Bret and have him lose right away. They could have had Owen win at SummerSlam and then done another match, maybe not do the whole Bob Backlund thing, but by that point, they were going with Diesel. So Owen would have been nice, but I think Razor Ramon would have been my personal top choice. And Jake the Snake Roberts is another one that's up there too, but it didn't work out for him. If he had stayed with WWE in 92, that heel Jake the Snake Roberts as champion would have been awesome. I was loving that Jake the Snake character when he used the Cobra on Randy Savage. That was top tier heel work. If he won the WWE title from Hulk Hogan instead of The Undertaker, I would have been fine with that. I would have loved that, actually. But Undertaker won it, and the rest is history, as they say. Dwayne Atkinson sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate it very much. Says, should CM Punk actually beat Hangman Adam Page? If not, then who? I just did a poll on NoDQ.com asking people about it, and CM Punk is currently winning, followed by MJF. All along from when Adam Page won the title, my thought process was MJF, right? But then things started to kind of fizzle out with Page, and he's been having great matches, but like I said earlier, he doesn't feel like a world champion for whatever reason. Maybe it's because he just comes out there for a little quick segment here and there. He's not the center point of the show. He's not the focus. It seems like more weeks than not, he's just there, and he just happens to be the world champion. And now I'm thinking maybe CM Punk should win the title from Adam Page and set up another CM Punk MJF match and have MJF beat CM Punk for the title. I mean, MJF should be the champion, and there's a lot of rumors going on about him, what's his future, but to me, MJF is the hottest act in the company right now. Dwayne Atkinson sent in another $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Dwayne. Much appreciated. Says, it's still early, but who do you see winning the Owen? Well, we got the men and women's tournaments. I've seen some people say they like the idea of Adam Cole and Britt Baker winning the tournaments, which is pretty cool. Real life boyfriend and girlfriend winning the tournaments. I'd be fine with that. Although I'm wondering if we should have some baby faces winning the tournament. Like Ruby Soho would be a good choice for the women. And as far as the men, I would not mind Jeff Hardy winning it, since Jeff was around when Owen Hart was still doing his thing. They were part of the Attitude Era together. I think that would be cool, although Jeff really doesn't need it. You could use the Owen tournament to elevate a younger guy and give him that rub. But also, I think somebody like Jeff winning would create that feel-good moment. But yeah, I'm kind of torn at this point. And we also have a couple of jokers. So until I know who the jokers are, I can't really say for sure. Samoa Joe would be a good choice to win the Owen, but again, I think he's facing the Joker. So who knows who the Joker is? The Joker might be the best choice. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see here. The This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Says, will Mae Young and Mark Henry's hand ever wrestle for WWE? Jay Johnston. Never say never. I could see something like that happening one of these days. 24/7 title. The son of Mark Henry and Mae Young comes out there and wins the 24/7 title. Although I kind of feel like something like this already happened. Maybe I'm just mistaken. Maybe I had a terrible nightmare. But I seem to think that there was some incident with a hand. Oh, that's what happened. It was on Dynamite. Who was it? Somebody got hit with a hand. Maybe it was Adam Cole. It might have been Adam Cole in that match with Adam Page. Or no, it was Sami Zayn. It was at WrestleMania. See, I'm struggling to remember it, but somebody got hit with a hand, and I think it was Sami Zayn in that Jackass match. That's what I think it was. And everybody was joking. Mark Henry's son made an appearance at a wrestling event. I think that was it. It was Sami Zayn getting hit with the hand at WrestleMania. But yes, that is certainly a possibility. Never rule out a hand showing up as a gag and somebody's like, oh, look, the son of Mark Henry just showed up. Sean Garner asked, who should beat Bianca Belair for her title? Well, to me, this one's pretty straightforward. I think it's got to be Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is on a roll right now. She's with Edge's faction, and what better way to elevate her and build up her character than to give her the Raw Women's title? Like, she's on fire right now, and I think Bianca is better chasing. I would be totally fine with Rhea Ripley winning the title, and then Bianca Belair has to grind her way and try to get back into the title picture. Tony Luke sent in a question, says, what do you think about Paige being Ronda Rousey's manager? I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with Paige managing anybody. Like, I don't know if she's ever going to be cleared or not, but I mean, she could be doing something on TV. And again, you could help boost the women's division, bring her in to manage somebody, give somebody the rub that needs it. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Ronda Rousey doesn't necessarily need the rub, but if they were going to turn Ronda heel, that would certainly be an idea that could work. And I remember Paige was managing, was it the Kabuki Warriors? I'm not sure, but then that kind of faded away. But I would not mind her bringing in a new tag team or something like that. And Clayton B. Bowen says, who are your favorite 5 masked wrestlers of all time? Does Kane count? He wears a mask. Not sure if you're talking about strictly luchadors or if we can include any masked wrestler. But if we're including any, I'd put Kane on the list. Rey Mysterio, no doubt, has to be on top of any list of masked wrestlers. Probably the greatest of all time. Tiger Mask is definitely up there as far as masked wrestlers go. Juventud Guerrera is another one. Ultimo Dragon. So there's 5 right there. No Colin, not Mr. America. Mr. America, he doesn't make the top 5, but he's close. Mr. America. Jeez. Oh, how could I forget Jushin Thunder Liger? We got to put him on there too. Ray Phoenix is doing great. Penta. There's a lot of great ones for sure. Hard to pick just 5. Don Wooding says, how long do you think AEW starts? How long do you think until AEW starts an international tour to Canada, Mexico, or the United Kingdom? Tony Khan was interviewed recently, and he was talking about hoping that from a logistics standpoint, they could do a tour of Canada. And, I think the concern has been the travel issues with COVID. I'm thinking they're going to be doing it soon, though. I do think it will be within the next year. Don't know if it's going to be later this year, but I do think pretty soon we will see AEW start to do shows in Canada, probably Canada first, but I know they'll be hitting up the UK. And considering the buzz and the hype for WWE's upcoming Clash at the Castle premium live event, AEW could very well draw a very large audience in the UK. So I definitely think as soon as they think they can pull it off without any issues like travel restrictions or stuff like that, I think they'll definitely be heading over there. Just a matter of time. Tony Luke says, what is the best way to start a YouTube channel? Well, there's a lot of ways you could start a YouTube channel. The best way to start it is when you're feeling passionate enough to really commit to it. Like, there's no sense in starting a YouTube channel and then just giving up on it. You got to really go in with the idea that it's going to be a grind if you're going to build an audience. Like, you really have to work hard at it and have a good idea and have some fire and passion behind it. If you can pull it off and you have a good camera, good audio, good lighting, and you got some ideas, just grind. Put the video out, put the content out, and just try to spread the word. Word of mouth, tell your friends, go on social media, connect with other people that share the same passion as you, and just keep working at it. It's a work in process, but I would say have a game plan and really feel it, because it's tough. If you're looking to have a channel with a large following, it's definitely not easy, because everybody and their brother has a YouTube channel at this time. Like, pretty much anybody can make one, and anybody with a camera can go out there and give their thoughts. And it's a tough marketplace for sure. Jason has a good point here. Just look at what people are doing, people that are having success, and not copy them necessarily, but take their ideas and make them into your own. Let's see. Sean Garner says, do you think MJF leaves AEW for WWE? I'm thinking there's a very decent chance that MJF goes to WWE when his contract is up. Now, he's got a lot of people talking right now, but his contract apparently doesn't expire until 2024. So not really sure how much is accomplished by us talking about it right now. Still a ways to go before his deal is up. MJF just seems like a WWE guy to me. Like, his presentation, the way he talks, like, he's a sports entertainer. But there's the concern, of course, that he would be watered down in WWE. MJF would not be MJF in WWE. He would be something else. And would it really work? That's the question. And I think that's a very valid concern. But my feeling is he will end up in WWE. I'm thinking that's going to happen. Cleaver Colin Andrews says, do you think the trios titles in AEW will be around? Will we see them by the end of 2022? I'm thinking so. I feel like it's just a matter of when Kenny Omega is cleared to wrestle again. And Tony Khan has even said this in interviews, that they have the belts made. They're planning to do it. But, Tony Khan is wanting Kenny Omega to be around. So you can put him in the tournament or whatever they do to crown the first champions. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. So whenever Omega comes back is when we'll see the trios titles debut. Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole and Red Dragon. Very well could be the first championship match. Walter Cruz with a very interesting question here. He says, besides Katie Vick, what's the worst storyline ever? I would say any storyline where somebody's real life problems or somebody's death was being exploited. And I know when somebody dies, the idea is that, well, if a heel could use that to get heat, then go with it. But, it's kind of tough to get behind. But I would say the storyline with Road Warrior Hawk, when they were exploiting his real life problems on television, and then there was no conclusion to the storyline. He just disappeared from TV. LOD was released, and that was it. Like, if he had come back and redeemed himself and had a happy ending to the story, maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. But yeah, looking back, that was just a terrible storyline. Brawl for All, I guess, is another one at the top of the list of worst storylines. And WCW, where do I even begin? Dungeon of Doom. The Higher Power was not a great one in WWE. WCW ones, NWO 2000, The New Blood. There's so many bad ones, like Booker T feuding with Big T for the letter T. Remember that one? Judy Bagwell on a pole. Yeah, I could just spend the whole evening talking about terrible WCW angles. Bringing in RoboCop, the boat with Sting. What was it called? I forgot the name of it now. But it was that storyline with Vader, the little mini movie that they did back in the day. What about Shockmaster coming through the wall? Man, there's just so many of them. Here's a good one: the anonymous GM angle, for sure. SCW, the wrestling channel, says, "What's up, Aaron? Hope you're doing well. What's your favorite Hell in a Cell match in history?" Favorite one would probably be the first one. I mean, the first one set the tone for future Hell in a Cell matches. And of course, the Mick Foley one, Mankind versus The Undertaker, is another great one. And as far as more recent ones, probably the Saudi Arabia match with Seth Rollins and Edge. That was certainly the best one in recent memory as far as I'm concerned. But the first two, well, actually, technically, there was a Hell in a Cell match on Raw, a tag team one. It was a no contest. It was more or less an angle, but they did like a little Hell in a Cell match before that pay-per-view. But yeah, Mankind versus Undertaker and Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. Those are my top two. Astro Creep says, what are your thoughts about Eric Bischoff saying he doesn't believe the Forbidden Door event won't bring in new casual fans? I think that he's right to a degree. I think that all of the great wrestling in the world is only going to bring in so many new viewers. I don't think that that's what really draws in new viewers. I think characters and storylines bring in new viewers. The Forbidden Door, it's going to be a great show. And there's most certainly an audience for it. $1 Million Gate. I don't think it's going to really bring in new people, though. I mean, look at NXT. NXT was pumping out great show after great show after great show, and they still struggled to sell out. Like, all of the positive buzz about NXT, how awesome NXT was. I went to multiple NXT. Actually, I think every takeover I went to 3 of them in 3 major markets. I went to NXT Chicago in 2018, not a sellout. I went to NXT War Games in Los Angeles 2018, not a sellout. Went to the 2019 Toronto takeover, again, not a sellout. And I was surprised, man. I got to tell you guys, I went there and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, NXT is friggin' awesome. How is this building not sold out? And the answer is it appeals to a niche audience. Bottom line, it's a great product, and so is AEW, but just the guys going out there and having great matches, it only appeals to a niche audience. That's the bottom line. And I think if you want to bring in new viewers, you have to have the characters that do the talk shows. You have to have the soap opera like storylines that will get somebody who's just maybe changing the channel. They turn on wrestling and they're like, oh, this is interesting. And they stick around and watch it. Like, we need the drama. I think just the wrestling is only appealing to people that like the wrestling, you know? But I think that the storylines and characters draw to the people that don't regularly watch wrestling. You know, the more the broader audience. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, why does WWE think that wins and losses don't matter when they clearly do, as the audience likes to cheer for winners like Austin, Hogan, Cena, and Reigns? The answer is that Vince McMahon thinks he knows what the audience wants. And he thinks that whatever he puts out there, they're going to accept. And for the most part, he's right. Wins and losses do matter. They matter to the people that WWE wants to push. So for Roman Reigns, wins and losses matter. They protect him. And there's certain people that are protected in the booking. But a lot of them, to WWE, they're bodies. And thus, doesn't really matter if they win or lose. But yes, wins and losses do matter for most superstars and wrestlers, because it's all about suspending disbelief, and you have to believe that this person is one of the toughest competitors in the world. Like, you want to cheer for the best of the best. You don't want to cheer for the loser. Sometimes it can work. The underdog storyline certainly has been successful over the years. You look at Daniel Bryan, and there's been several others where they have losing streaks, and the crowd gets behind them and wants to see them finally win the big one. So it can work, but it cannot work for everybody. And there have been guys like, if you remember, The Rock would put over people all the time during his heyday, but he was The Rock. He could get away with it. Now, if Rocky Maivia lost every match, who knows if he would have ever built up the momentum to where people would have taken him seriously enough as The Rock. That is hard to say. So anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate the feedback and the support, as always. And I'll be back again with another Q&A, hopefully soon. Feel free to send me questions anytime, NoDQMISC@gmail.com, and I will keep them for a future video. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest breaking wrestling news and rumors. Enjoy your week, everybody. Stay safe. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.